Welcome to the 30-day SME Growth Master Challenge. This is day one. And in day one, we're going straight and look at assess and align. Now, in assessment and aligning, we are basically looking at the foundation upon which every growth will be built in. Because before you can grow, then you must assess. And then after assessment, you must align before you do anything else. This is the main reason why a lot of entrepreneurs that come through to our coaching, we put them through what is called the current state analysis. I'm sure you've heard me speak about this so many times in previous videos. Now, before we go ahead with the challenge today, please make sure that you download the 30-day growth tactical plan. Now, this is available for you for download for free and in the description down below or in the caption somewhere, so that you can follow along as we go through this particular challenge. Okay, now why is financial health the most important thing that you need to do before you can consider growth? Now, the reason is because 8 out of 10 SMEs fail because of poor financial oversight, which means they do not really have their thumb on the pulse or their finger on the pulse to find out exactly if the business is managing the finances properly, if there are leakages or revenue leaks somewhere that causes you as a business to make a loss. So for us to do this, then you need to have some tools. The first tool that you must have is a budget. Okay, you can do this just with your budget. If you want, you can combine the budget as well as the cash flow projection. And then for bigger organizations, they can use this in conjunction again with the income statement. All of these tools will still get you to the desired outcome, which is to find exactly the financial health of your business. Okay, so you must be able to do this in a few minutes, and please do follow along as we go through this particular challenge. Please don't forget, download these tools. They are free down there, and you can follow through and be adjusting your numbers as we go. Okay, now let's say we're using this cash flow projection here. You will see that in every cash flow, there are inflows and there are outflows. Now, after each and every significant period or the period for which you are comparing those inflows and outflows, there is always a balance at the beginning. Now, the balance then is carried over to the next month. Now, before you can carry over this balance, you need to find out exactly whether the inflows are greater than the outflows. If you're spending more money than what is coming in, then you've got a negative balance there in your cash flow projection. So basically, it might mean that you need to adjust expenses. Now, adjusting expenses means in most cases that freeing up some money that can then be channeled towards growth, because your growth will need some finances to propel it forward. So in this case, then under your expenses there or your outflows, just identify the top 5 expenses for your business. Now, they don't really need to be in a specific order, but if you can identify them, find out exactly what you can cut, or are those expenses justified? Sometimes it might mean that in the short term, you are incurring a lot of cost, justifying bigger revenues in future. But if it is something that you can do without, if it means cutting some of these costs or reducing them, the better, because you will free some of these monies so that they can be spent on other things, such as getting more resources or hiring an additional person, getting some software or any other tools that you need to propel the growth forward, as you're going to see as we get into the second week. So make sure that you identify the top 5 expenses. Now, the next thing that you need to do is compare then the revenue that you have with the projected revenue. Now, there's always a discrepancy most of the time in these figures. Now, a lot of people will always mistake projected and revenue, okay? So, which means they either are gaps in projected revenue and revenue, or there's a surplus. If your revenue is greater than what you had projected, then you've got a surplus. And then you need to find a way of harnessing this funds and using them appropriately in your organization. If not, it means that there is a gap there, and this gap could have been caused by expenses that are justified. It could have been caused by either targets that are unachievable or that are unrealistic. So it might mean adjusting your goals. It might mean that adjusting your targets, or it might mean that your follow-up with your clients is not an effective one. Therefore, you're projecting high revenues that you are expecting, but you're not receiving them when you are meant to receive them. So go back to your collection system. How are you collecting monies from your clients? Find out if the system is easy for those clients to use. If not, are there any glitches, for example, in your accounting system and so forth, to allow your clients to be able to pay seamlessly without any challenges? Don't forget to download the 30-day SME growth action plan. It is there in the link somewhere down below or in the comments. You'll find it. And let's make this work in these next 30 days. Let's ensure that day 2, we invite others, invite your friends, invite other entrepreneurs so that you can start applying this. Remember, the first step, assess and align. See you tomorrow.